Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Chaos Child. We have compared the two murders that have happened recently to those that have happened several years ago, and if the pattern is to be believed, the next crazy murder is going to happen today.
もし今日渋谷でまた妙な事件が起こったら、その時は間違いない。偶然が3つ続くなんて放っておける要素じゃないだろう。
Oh wow, that's what I said last time. 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. A phone rang.
はい、もしもし。
事件だ。いや、事故？とにかくタクの言う通りのことが起きたかもしれないんだよ。
On one hand, that's terrible news. On the other hand, I thought that a while was going to go while we're all wondering, is it going to be one of us? But no, it already happened. It's over. I could feel my heart starting to race as she spoke. It was a love hotel area in Dogonzaka, 5 minutes from Shibuya Station. A few days ago, there had been some kind of suspicious fire here, and I'd come to do some reporting. The place was supposedly a love hotel spot, but even at night when business should have been booming, it wasn't particularly exciting. During the day, when all the lights were turned off, if you didn't look at the signs, it wouldn't look very different from your average neighborhood. One of the buildings was a 4-story love hotel with a terrible name, Fairy's Dance. It faced a narrow street and there was no parking lot, so the police car was parked at a meter nearby. Sarika was standing in front of a general store some distance away. She was supposed to be spending the day taking photos of the area around the last 2 crime scenes.
何があった？
わかんない。さっきゲンさんと107の近くですれ違った時に、ここで何かが起きたって教えてくれたの。
相変わらずあの人はよくわかんないな。どこから仕入れてるんだ、そんな情報。便利だからいいけど。
Is he the mastermind? Oh, maybe I'm too far ahead of myself. Gen was a homeless man I knew who had sold me all the books in my secret stash. Well, yeah, I know. We addressed him earlier. He was a drunk who claimed to be of noble blood, but the stories he told me about his past didn't sound very noble at all. The guy was a weirdo, but since he spent all his time wandering around Shibuya, he knew a surprising amount of info about it.
でも、大事なのは間違いないっぽいよ。さっき中に入ってった警察の人が応援呼んでたみたいだし。
Back up. I see. I decided to start by taking a video of the outside of the hotel with my smartphone.
お前、こういう時だけ足早いな。
I'd left the 2 of them in the club room and they'd only just now caught up with me. They must have run here. Ito especially was breathing very heavily.
なんだ、クルスも来たのか。
Kazuki had decided not to come, evidently. Of course not. I'd never seen her outside, except when we were going to and from school.
で、事件か？
I told Ito what I'd heard from Sarika. He seemed really disappointed.
なんだそりゃ。単に血は喧嘩かなんかで騒ぎになったんじゃねえの？
To the point of murder in a love hotel?
それだけでわざわざ応援なんて呼ぶか？それに、今日は29日なんだぞ。
Yeah, that's what kills me. Reinforcements. Like, unless there's ongoing commotion, why would you need reinforcements? This must be some nasty scene.
だから気にしすぎだって言ってるでしょ。
Kurusu seemed upset. She glanced at the love hotels around her in disgust.
早く学校に戻りましょう。学生がいていい場所じゃない。監視カメラに映っているのが問題になったらどうするの？
She probably didn't want to get involved. Ever since the rebuilding, there had been more cameras around Shibuya than ever before, even around the love hotels. In our school uniforms, we probably stood out. Kurisu motioned for us to go home. And then... I saw something in the viewfinder. On the 3rd floor of the Love Hotel. The windows in one of the rooms facing the alley were open. Plural windows? It looks like one window. The windows must have been all the way open because the curtains were fluttering out.
なあ、普通こういうとこって窓開いてないもんだよな。
I asked Ito as I looked up at them.
ん？まあそうなんじゃねえの？使ったことなんかねえからわかんねえけど。
Oh. Ito followed my gaze and saw it for himself. It felt suspicious. I'd never been to a love hotel either, so I didn't know, but normally you'd keep the windows shut, right? You wouldn't want people seeing or hearing what you were doing. And then, suddenly, I heard a sound from somewhere. It was a calming song with a simple melody. I took a closer listen. Was it a music box? It definitely was. It was coming from the room with the open windows. It sounded like it was inviting us in. What was going on? I looked around. The building across from the open window was another love hotel, but it had no windows on that side. I couldn't look into the building like I'd done with the karaoke box last week, and I certainly couldn't climb my way up.
ちょっと何考えてるの？
I'm just gonna walk into a love hotel in front of the cameras and everything. I must have had a pensive look on my face because Kurisu turned to me and asked.
バレないように中に入れれば。
Oh boy. I looked over at the parking meters. There was still only the one car. Okay.
裏口ぐらいどっかにあるだろうから、応援の警察が来る前に済まそう。伊藤、そっち側から回ってくれ。
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we can go in without being noticed, but then the whole force is gonna be here.
おう。
僕はこっち側から。
ちょっとタクル、こっち見なさい。
I began to go around the building, not waiting for Ito's answer, but Kurisu grabbed my arm.
ダメ。こんなの部活の範疇じゃないでしょ。私の言うことが聞けないの？
I mean, I agree. Crap. She was just a millimeter short of making that face again.
しかもここ、いかがわしいホテルでしょう。それに、もし妙なことに巻き込まれたらどうするの？
I knew all that, but I didn't want to give up. This might be my chance to get a real scoop.
停学にでもなったらどうするつもり？姉として弟を危険な目に遭わせるわけにはいかないの。
弟というか、家族でも何でもないじゃんか。僕たちは。
Instantly, Kurisu grabbed me by the collar with incredible force and brought her face so close to me that her foreheads touched. I could tell her cheeks were flushed. There was a small, wordless growl from deep within her throat, and her arms were shaking a little as she held me. What was she trying to say? No, I knew what she was trying to say. But Kurisu didn't say it. Kurisu wasn't the sort of awful person who'd bring up the distant past to try to win an argument. And anyway, that was all over now. It wasn't either of our faults. What? What? That transition was weird. Suddenly Sarika ran over and tackled Kurisu? The momentum slammed both of them into the ground.
ちょっとセリカ、何して。喧嘩はダメだよ、のんちゃん。たく、5人でみんな仲良くが新聞部のモットーでしょ？
No, that was never our motto.
しんちゃんも止めなきゃダメじゃん。
いや、つうか、どこ行ってたんだ？
ああ、そうだ。喧嘩してる場合じゃないんだよ、タク。
She suddenly hopped up like a cheap toy. That's the
裏の
analogy.
ドア開いてる。喉乾いて自販機なくてホテルの中ならあるだろうと思って裏のドア見つけて開けて中入って自販機やってさすが妖精のダンスじゃんやるじゃんって思って買って一気飲みしてたらあれって。
んだよそれ。
お前いつも後先考えずに突き進むよな。
タクどうするの？
I could tell that Cursa was glaring at me, but she didn't say anything. She couldn't say anything.
二人で行こう。カップルの方がいざという時にごまかしが効くかもしれない。
By going through the rear entrance when this is a crime scene, I don't think you're fooling anybody, dude.
OK。
She just goes with it, though. As soon as the words were out of my mouth, Sarika beckoned me to follow her. These transitions are bizarre. She just teleports away. I did. I didn't say it, but in my heart I apologized to Kuroso as I went. Of course she couldn't hear me, so she didn't say anything.
階段向こうなんだけどな。
We went inside the hotel from the rear entrance and hid behind the corner that led to the lobby. LED, led. Otherwise it says that leads to the lobby. This was my first time inside a love hotel, and it was a lot less gaudy than I'd expected. The name was false advertising. There were no fairies and no one was dancing. Maybe the quiet atmosphere is a selling point. But...
ですから人を早くよこしてください。いや、それは新庄さんに聞いてください。
The quiet was ruined by the sound of a police officer screaming into his phone. He was either confused or just excited because he kept saying the same things over and over again. Something had happened after all, and something bad enough that he needed backup. This was my chance. If we could get to the scene before the place was overflowing with cops, we might be able to find an unexpected scoop.
はい、それは間違いありません。確認しました。ですがこちらでは判断が。いえ、ですからそういう状態じゃないんです。
くそ。
That cop was in the way. Whether we took the stairs or the elevator, we needed to go through the lobby to get to them.
タク行くよ。
え？
早く。
Sarika took me by the arm as if we were a couple and entered the lobby without trying to hide at all.
おいおい。
She ignored me and walked straight for the stairs.
おい！
The cop must have seen us because he yelled at us from behind. Just in our school uniforms. Shit. He probably hadn't seen our faces. Should we run? No, that would just make us look suspicious.
部屋から出るなと言っているだろう。はい。いえ、すいません、大丈夫です。それより早く応援を。
Oh, that's clever. Like, did we I couldn't tell, but did we walk the wrong way, like, from the rooms? Because if he's sending us back to our rooms, then he's just giving us a pass to enter further into the hotel without realizing that we were trying to enter it, if it looked like we were exiting. He started to mumble into the phone. We crossed the lobby without looking back. Maybe he was yelling at somebody else?
無茶するなよ。
でもタクの言った通りだったじゃん。ごまかせたごまかせた。
びっくりした。
That was a close call. My heart was pounding so loud that the noise was making me sick. Could he not tell that we were high school students? No, even if he only saw us from behind, he'd be able to tell by our uniforms. Why didn't he arrest us? Maybe he was panicking so much the thought never occurred to him?
ってとは どうしようか。
Serica let go of my arm and turned toward me. That's right. Now wasn't the time for thinking about other things.
外から見たあの場所が現場かどうかはわからないけど、とりあえず3階から当たろう。そこが外れだったら他の場所を見ていく。警察の応援が来たらそこで切り上げ。でも警察の様子から見て、やっぱり何か事件があったんだ。絶対に取って帰ろう。
This is really macabre. Like, we shouldn't be doing this, even if it is for a scoop.
オッケー。
It was quiet. The policeman's voice was still drifting up the stairs, but it only made the quiet seem more oppressive. Just like he'd said, the customers had probably been told not to leave their rooms. It was too late for it to matter now, but I was starting to feel a little scared. Come to think of it, if something had happened, maybe the killer was still here?
そういえばタク、まだのんちゃんと喧嘩しちゃってるんだね。
Serica's voice was relaxed. I was grateful. I'd take any opportunity to relieve this tension.
喧嘩ってわけじゃないよ。
No, maybe it was.
でもまだクルスって呼んでるんでしょ。気持ちはわかるけど、なんとかならないかな。
Until half a year ago, I'd called her Nono, her first name. After the incident that had caused me to leave the dorm, I'd never called her that again. As long as I kept calling her Kuroso, she'd keep being mad at me. It must have been hurting some important part of her.
タク、
あ、
The next thing I knew, we were on the third floor. Serica had gotten ahead of me at some point and was poking her head around the corner and into the hallway.
誰もいないみたい。
よし。
I took out my phone and got ready to record. Even if we did upload this, wouldn't we get in trouble for being the ones who clearly recorded it? As soon as I went into the third floor hallway, I found myself holding my breath. My heart was pounding even louder than when the cop had yelled at us. I tried to control myself and looked down the corridor. The rooms must have been very big because the gap between the doors was large. The floor was red, sinking into black as the hallway stretched away. I could hear the unpleasant sound of blowing air. They must have had the air conditioning on. There were no windows and there wasn't a lot of light, so the hallway looked pretty creepy. But there was nothing out of the ordinary about it otherwise. But still, it was strange. The air felt solid. It felt like someone would jump out from the shadows the second you let your guard down, or perhaps that there were traps scattered everywhere along the floor. For a second, the floor seemed to be stained with blood, but I shook that image out of my mind. What was this? It was like the fear you feel in the darkness at night. Was it just because there was so little light? No. It was worse than that. It felt like someone was watching me and enjoying my unease. It was like they were peering deep into my heart.
タク、
I almost jumped off the ground with a start.
どうしたの？
Don't just talk to me like that. You scared the hell out of me.
なんでもない。なんか変じゃないか。
I gestured with my head down the hallway. Serica looked past me into the darkness.
そりゃ暗いからなんか不気味だけど、雰囲気作りとかじゃないの？
Was it? Was that all? Was I being too sensitive? I tried flipping the light switch on the wall next to me, but nothing happened. Maybe the bulbs were burnt out, or maybe it wasn't the switch for this hallway at all. Damn it. This wasn't 1407 or something. Was that Stephen King thing? And we're like dodging a copyright? Wasn't it like 1408? A 2007 American horror movie about a hotel room where all the occupants commit suicide, based on a work by the master of modern horror, yet Stephen King. Yet wasn't it 1408? I want to say it was. Yeah, it was 1408. I turned around. The only person there was Erica. No one else was looking at me. I took some time to make sure of it before I spoke.
行くぞ。
This is intense. Sarika nodded cheerfully, and stayed behind me as we walked deeper into the hallway. I remember the location of the window I'd seen outside. It was probably deeper in the hall, the furthest one back, or the one before it.
あの二つのどちらかかな。
I walked as silently as I could down the long hallway, toward the last room on the left side, or the last rooms. With every step I took, I could feel the sensation of the hallway floor through the bottom of my heels. It was like I was being forced to think about nerves that I had never used. My body felt very tense. I didn't see any cops in the hallway. Usually they'd at least leave one person here at the scene. Yeah, that's the weird part. The only cop here is like 2 floors down, panicking. That's really bizarre. Was this the wrong floor? Ugh. We reached the second to last door. Room 306. Oh my god. I listened carefully, but didn't hear anything revealing. Even positive, what are we gonna do? But I'm going positive, baby. Just the quiet rumble of the air conditioner.
覗き穴とかないの？
Come on.
ここはラブホテルだぞ。
ああ、そっか。
おい、何を。
That's gutsy. And we haven't kicked in the vision yet, so she knocked on the door.
ノック。
お前な。
Oh my god, here it comes. This is gonna be a stupid comic relief, I'm sure. And suddenly the door opened. We didn't expect anyone to open it, so both Sarika and I froze. And then they came out. Remember, this is the positive version.
あら。
Comical music.
おいたちが次のお客さんかしら。
Oh, it's hot babes waiting for us in the love hotel. It was a voluptuous woman with long hair and she was completely naked. And not only that, her body was as nice as any you'd see in a magazine. Wait, didn't she look a lot like a model or actress I saw on TV?
タク、見ちゃダメ。かわいいお客さんね。入って。
Remembering that we're high school students, this is creepy as hell.
いえ。
そういうんじゃないんで。
With this creepy hallway in the background.
いいのよ。お嬢さんも一緒でも。
Oh my god, this is weird, even as a fantasy. In other words, what exactly?
すっごく気持ちよくさせてあげる。だから、おいで。タク、どうしよう。
お前、なんでちょっと入る気になってるんだ。
This is so stupid.
だって。
Sarika's face was red with embarrassment. She whispered softly, Nani?
気持ちよくなりたいし。
Oh my god. Yeah, we're done with that.
そんな状況じゃないだろ。
Oh. We said that out loud. Something was wrong with me.
そんな状況って？
Damn it. I said what I was thinking out loud.
いや、なんでもない。
I'm actually surprised we got a comic relief moment at a time like this, but can you imagine the negative one?
警察もいないし、この回じゃないのかもな。
I got so caught up in my commentary. It's not tips, backlog. Sarika was still knocking on the door to room 306, but no one was answering. Boom, we're safe. The police aren't here either, maybe it's not this floor. What? Something broke? I flinched back at the sudden noise. Was that the sound of breaking glass?
隣からだったよな。
She was clinging to my back in surprise, with her hands on my shoulders.
多分奥でしょ？
Sarika pointed to the next room. We stood there for a moment. The violent sound must have scared her, because Sarika's easygoing mood had totally vanished. But we waited a while, and nothing more happened. There were no voices or sounds of struggle. The hallway was the same as ever. But was I imagining it, or was the hall a little darker than before?
戻った方がいいか
Yes. Sarika didn't answer my question. She didn't seem afraid, but she had a serious look on her face as she stared down the hallway. Maybe something had happened and the killer was still there? No, wait. I needed to think about this rationally. There was an officer on the first floor who'd called for backup. Usually when a call came in, the police never came there alone. There was always more than one. I'd found that out for myself during my reporting, so I was sure of it. So there had to be another officer at the scene. The killer couldn't just be hiding there. If there was any chance of that, the cop wouldn't have just told us to go back to our rooms. Did the killer break the glass during a struggle? No, that didn't make sense either. If there was any chance of them being able to do that, would that officer have gone downstairs? He'd probably gone down there to tell the front desk not to let anyone else in. I had no proof. But it should be okay. More than anything, I hadn't taken any photos yet. What? I jumped, literally, when I heard the sudden sound. It was a very strange sound, one that didn't belong here at all. Was it that, like, frog squeezing air? Sarika's just squeezing it, like, what's the word? Just unconsciously? Hey, I'm a genius. I looked and saw that Sarika had gotten so nervous she'd taken out her Garo Froggy Garo strap and started to play with it. She probably didn't even know she was doing it. Damn, I'm good. I softly poked her with my elbow. I motioned for her to keep quiet, and she seemed confused, but then she realized what she was doing and quickly put the strap back in her pocket. As soon as she was done, I looked down the hall once more, all the way to the front of the room. We should head there. I tried to steel myself, then checked over my shoulder once more to make sure no one was there. I started to walk forward, very carefully. I was afraid of making even the slightest sound. Sarika followed me wordlessly with her hand on my shoulder. I grabbed her hand with my free hand, the other was holding my smartphone. She squeezed it tight. The feeling of her fingers kept me strong as I walked forward. Next room. Room 305, the room at the far end of the hallway. Just like room 306, it had a plain old door, but it felt like it was exuding an intense pressure.
ここからだよね。
She was asking about the sound.
多分
I answered, despite not having any proof at all. We waited, but still heard nothing. I looked around once more to make sure no one was there, then put my ear up against the door. And then I heard a small sound. It was the sound that I'd heard outside, the sound from the windows, like a music box playing. It was relaxed and peaceful, even if we weren't, and played the same tune over and over.
この部屋だ窓が開いていた部屋
Sarika was looking at me.
開く?
No, that's... I hesitated, but she put her hand on the doorknob. Really?
ダメ。
Oh. She seemed relieved but a little upset. I knew exactly how she felt. I felt the same way. I moved away from the door. I would have liked to take some photos before I left, but... Ooh. That's creepy. So no one said, "Who is it?" They just silently unlocked the door? That's creepy.
今、鍵の音しなかった?
Yeah. That was what it sounded like. We were too confused to move. There was no sign of anyone coming out. I slowly touched the doorknob. It turned. Is this going to be like Silent Hill? There's just nobody in the room? The door was unlocked. How? Yeah, gulp. As if guided by all the strange things that were happening, I pushed the record button on my smartphone. I gripped the doorknob tighter. A voice in my mind told me to stop, to go back, but it was wiped out by the sound of the smartphone recording starting and the door slowly opening. The more it opened, the less I was able to ignore my curiosity. It felt like something besides Serica was pushing me forward as I opened the door. That song was playing in the dimly lit room. All the lights were off, but the sun outside was streaming through the open window. Its light was very weak. The curtain in front of me, which partitioned off a part of the room, was blocking the light. I gulped and realized my lips were dry. I ran my tongue over them to wet them a little, and then I realized my heart was pounding. The sound was so loud I thought my heart might have somehow moved up into my ears. It seemed to be beating out some bizarre rhythm, and it was making me sick. I forced myself to swallow my saliva and hoped it would keep me from throwing up. Then I took a slow step forward. I held up my phone to record what I was seeing, and then I realized something. That curtain wasn't partitioning the room. It was a bed. There was a raised spot off the floor with a circular bed surrounded by a curtain. I guess that makes sense in a love hotel, right? The light was streaming out from behind it. The windows we'd seen were on the other side of it. Oh. And the song seemed to be coming from there as well. Again, I'm just spooked that something opened the door, like unlocked it. What's that all about? Crap, it was too dark. I went to flip the nearby light switch, then forced myself to stop. No. I couldn't touch anything in the room. Some kind of crime must have taken place here. But I was scared to go any deeper into the darkness. Yeah, I would just turn on the damn light. Tampering with the crime scene be damned. Like, I mean, honestly, we shouldn't even be in the room, but if we have to, just turn on the damn light, dude. I thought the light wouldn't work. My shoes made my steps loud against the floor. There was no response. Only the relaxed melody. I gave a signal to Serica, who was still behind me, and went deeper into the room. I would not let go of her hand. What? For a moment, I just...
なんか金属がきしむ音みたいな。
Man, this is where we leave. I felt like I was hearing it between the gaps in the music box's melody. But there was no change that I could see. No one jumped out, nothing was moving. There was just the sound of the music box. I looked from one part of the room to another to make sure nothing was amiss. And then I slowly moved forward. Oh dear. Someone was lying on the floor. When my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I saw... Whoa. A police officer, what? No wonder he called for backup. I was gonna say, like... My assumption was that the scene was so grisly we needed backup, but... No, an officer died. We actually require backup. And a woman? The officer was lying up against the bathroom, with his legs splayed and his head drooping. The girl was lying on the floor face down. They showed no sign of noticing us. That would be because the officer is unconscious or dead, and the girl's face is going to be an absolute horror show. No, that wasn't right. The glass behind them was shattered into 1,000 pieces.
やばい。
The second I understood what was going on, the hand holding the smartphone started to shake. Crap, crap, crap! I could see a little blood dripping off the police officer's head. I spun around as I heard the sound. You hear it? Oh my god. The warmth drained from my face in an instant, and my whole body shivered. Someone was sitting on the bed. Oof. I staggered back and slammed into Serica. Welp, they probably heard us before, but they certainly did now.
逃げよう。早く。
Unless the person on the bed's also dead, somehow. But I couldn't move. My hand was frozen as it pointed the smartphone towards whoever was behind the curtain, and it wasn't doing what I told it. Damn it. Ugh. I took a step back, tripped, and then fell to the floor. My lungs weren't working right. The silhouette moved a little, and I flinched. Oh, that is a nightmare. No, it didn't move. The bed was rotating. Okay. That checks out. It's that, like, Austin Powers bed. Whoever was behind the curtain showed no sign of noticing us. They didn't budge an inch. I honestly figured the door magically opened to let us in, so now we're trapped in. Sarika's voice sounded like it was far away. I ran back to the entrance and slammed myself into the door. It wasn't opening. It wasn't opening! Sarika yelled back at me. Is that why the window's open? They tried getting help, or what? Sarika screamed as she slammed against the door. I helped her try to batter it down. Can't even unlock it? But it didn't work. It was like trying to batter down a wall. Oh my god, that's the rhythm of the 4 knocks. But there's 2 of us. Is the illusion going to affect both of us, or like what even is this? Suddenly I heard a knock at the door. I reflexively jumped away without thinking. It was coming from this door. The knocking was rhythmic and constant. It was just a knock at the door, but my whole body started to shake. Because this is the thing that killed people in the prologue. Someone was on the other side of the door. Someone was knocking. It definitely wasn't the police. I felt as if my sanity was boiling away, melting out from the soles of my feet on upward. Don't open that door. Right. Go out the back. I grabbed Sarika's hand and ran to the back of the room, and fell silent at what I saw. The bed's empty? What was that? No, the bed's still occupied. The curtain was open. And that person's like strapped to the bed in that position, so they are dead. There was a man there, sitting. No, he was moving slowly. The bed was moving in time to the sound of the music box. How the hell do you set that up? An eerie sound came from the wire wrapped around his neck. The wire was hanging down from the ceiling, choking him. His face was all puffed up in a color I'd never seen before. His pants were wet and the stain extended to the bed itself. The smell of piss and shit hung in my nose. He wasn't alive. He was dead. And the cop died? What? Why was he dead? Did he suffocate? Why was the curtain open? And what the hell was he doing? Why was he dead? My right hand moved without me realizing it. Without my realizing it. I needed to use the window to escape, but I pointed my phone's camera at the body instead. Thank God I'm here with somebody else. Like she's gonna snap us back to reality. The body spun slowly. Each time it went around, the wire made an awful sound and dug deeper into his neck. Yeah, I kinda figured. It had dug in so deep by now that the man's neck was the size of my wrist. That's disgusting. The skin must have been broken because it was bleeding a little. Sarika was right next to me, but her voice sounded far away, like she was talking through a telephone. I needed to get out of here, but I couldn't stop the filming. Why was I doing this? Why was he dead? The wire dug deeper and deeper into his neck without waiting for me to come up with an answer. The body turned away from me. I could see the back of his neck. The flesh around the wire was swollen, red and black. I heard a muffled sound, like something hard snapping inside of a bag. His neck? The head slumped just a little. Yup. Ugh. Ooh. His neck had just broken. That must have been the sound of the neck breaking. That's really messed up. We need to leave. I could hear Serika's voice. Get out of here? Get out of here. Oh my god. My body moved as I heard another sound. I spun around. The girl? I screamed. Oh, the head came off, and then I heard something from behind me. I don't know what I did, but the next thing I knew, we're just out the window. My whole field of vision had turned red. Then I felt something like a ball hit me. The head snapped off and fired at me because of the pressure from the neck. Before I could understand what it was, everything faded to black. Meanwhile, the next day, I think, midnight. Some guy.
新庄さん、所持品と防犯カメラの映像から親族に裏取れました。
Well, Shinjo is the guy that one cop called, so he arrived. Well, thank goodness somebody's here who was not the person knocking at the door, I would presume. So for now, it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We've just gone straight into a horror game now. It appears that we have some drama with Kurisu, but I think we got a little more drama with the 3 corpses in the room. Although the girl might have been alive, but a man's neck snapped, and I am guessing his head flew at us. This is a horror show, and I don't know where we're gonna go with this. Until next time, everyone.